When my husband's family discovered that my kidney was a match for his, they begged me to donate one to him. My husband and I had been married for 8 years, and it was heartbreaking to see him in constant pain. So, I agreed for him and for our children. They were too young to lose their father. Despite my own family's pleas to let my husband's family find a donor instead, I refused to listen. His family was wealthy and influential, and with their resources, it wouldn't have been difficult for them to find a donor. But I wanted my husband to get better as soon as possible. I went through with the surgery, and the transplant was successful. My husband was deeply grateful and promised to stand by me for the rest of his life, making countless other promises I can hardly remember. We both recovered well, and within a few months, everything seemed fine. The following 6 months were the happiest of my life. My husband showered me with gifts whenever he returned from work, took me and the kids on vacations, and made sure we lived comfortably. I was happy I had given him my kidney. But then, I fell sick. My husband was at work when I fainted, and luckily, my younger sister was visiting at the time. She rushed me to the hospital. The doctors tried calling my husband, but he didn't answer. When he finally picked up and heard I was hospitalized, he told my sister he was busy. That entire day, he never visited me. At first, I didn't think much of it until my sister remarked, "You see how he's treating you after you gave him your kidney." I snapped at her, but she continued, "You always shut us down when we tell you the truth. Why don't you pretend to be unwell and see if he really loves you like you say he does?" Her words lingered in my mind. My illness was simply due to exhaustion, so I was discharged the next day. When I got home, my husband was lounging on the couch as if nothing had happened. When I asked why he hadn't come to see me in the hospital, he mumbled some weak excuse, then got angry and stormed out. That was when I decided to test his love. From that day on, I acted weak and unwell. My husband started coming home late, sometimes not returning at all. He became irritable, yelling at me over the smallest things. Then, one day, he came home with his family and a woman I had never seen before. I welcomed them with a polite smile, masking my suspicions. My father-in-law spoke first. "Cynthia, you've become very weak, and your husband has complained that you can no longer perform your wifely duties. So, we've decided to ease your burden by finding you a co-wife." My mother-in-law added, "She can help you satisfy your husband's needs at night and cook for him." They made it sound like they were doing me a favor. I was devastated but remained calm. I excused myself and went to the bedroom, trying to process everything. A few moments later, the so-called co-wife entered the room with my mother-in-law. "This is where I'll be staying with my husband," she announced smugly. Then she turned to me and said, "You can move to the guest house." That was my breaking point. From that day forward, I began adding harmful substances to my husband's food, drugs that would lead to kidney failure. I had given him life, and now, I was taking it back. His new wife could donate her kidney to him if she truly loved him. When he eventually fell ill again, the co-wife refused to donate one of her kidneys. I, however, was done being his savior. Once he was on the brink of ruin, I divorced him and took half of his assets. And before I left, I made sure he would never be able to use his manhood again.